everybody. People are with Corrections Unfiltered, podcast where corrections meets conversation. Today, we're going to be talking to Oklahoma State Representative Justin Humphrey out of the 19th District, who's running for Lieutenant Governor. We're talking about his background because he retired from the Department of Corrections. I think you're going to find it very interesting when he starts talking about the reasons why he wants to make the changes that he plans to make. 19, sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Pete. Doing super well. Pretty cool. Little cool here. Fixing to go feed some cows, so it's a pretty day.
I was taking a look at your resume, sir, and I see that you retired from the Department of Corrections.
Yeah, I spent 20 years in the Department of Corrections, a little over 20 years. Went in as I went to college there at East Central in Ada, Oklahoma, and got a criminal justice degree. Did an internship at a prison called Howard McLeod. It's a minimum security prison. After my internship, went to work there as a correctional officer. Within about a year, promoted to probation officer. Spent about 20 years as a probation officer. Quite frequently I was on their CERT team, and so we'd go back into prisons and help out in prisons if they got shorthanded. So know a lot about corrections. And then when I retired, I opened a business doing contracts too. So it's a private business, but I've contracted drug courts, drug testing, private probation, GPS tracking, DNA testing. Had a pretty successful business, but I closed my business and ran for state representative. Been state representative for 10 years. While state representative, I was the chairman of public safety, which was a pretty big, at that time, they busted all those up. But at that time, that was a really big committee. I was chairman of criminal justice and corrections. And then I made our leadership a little mad. I sued them the other day over Department of Corrections issues. And when you sue your leadership, they tend to not like that. So right now, I'm vice chair of criminal justice and corrections. So yeah, I got
That's
spanked
quite
a
a
little bit.
bit. That's quite a bit. If you don't mind me going back a little bit, what made you get into corrections in the first place?
Well, I laugh. I used to be about a half. I was a hoodlum. I was a pretty ornery kid. I call that on the job training for probation officer. But in all honesty, I had a trooper that was in the county next to us, and I had to go over there going to college. And man, that guy should have probably took me to jail 2 or 3 times and didn't. And he wrote me 2 tickets, and all the time that he stopped me 3 times, 4 times a week. I mean, just practically stopped me every day. I was driving back and forth, and I used to call them old Trooper Arnold's bitch sessions. And it turned out, after a while, it wasn't after a while, I was kind of enjoying him stopping me, and he started trying to talk me and getting in law enforcement. And I'm like, come on, Trooper, Lord, look who you're talking to. And
Right.
anyways, I took a class just to get him kind of off my back and just to, and the professor was awesome, very interesting. And the minute I took it, I've got a minor in history. I like history, and I'd taken history and I'd taken education. I'd looked at going into accounting. So I got a minor in business. Um, I'd taken all that, but none of it just really kind of was my thing.
Hmm.
And boy, when I took criminal justice, very, very just right off the bat, troopers came and tried to recruit us. I wasn't interested in troopers. I didn't want to run traffic. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
got a son
Yeah.
that's a police officer and he does traffic. Nothing against that, but it just wasn't me. I'd got so many tickets. I don't think they would have took me anyways. But I was just interested in, hey, this guy being interested in me, this guy helping me, made me want to go back in and become a probation officer. That's kind of what I was wanting to do. And
Yeah.
so I went into corrections to become a probation officer. Love probation officer, love drug court. Like I say, I believe in accountability. I probably put more people in jail than just about anybody you know.
Hmm.
But at the same time, my goal was to change their behavior. I always told them, I'm your guide. I'm not here to put you in the penitentiary. You'll put yourself in the penitentiary.
Right.
I'm your guide. If you want to stay out, I'll help you and I'll break my neck to help you. if you want to go in, by damn, I'll show you the way and I'll help you right on in there as well if that's what you want to do. And so that's kind of what my motto, what I pattern that after. And I can tell you, very successful with private probation, really successful with that drug court, contracting out drug courts. We had an awesome drug court. We were making real change, noticeable change
Yeah.
in our community. So I was really proud of the work we did on exactly what we're talking about, how to not only set it up, but how to fund it. It
Is
would
that right?
really work. Yes.
Yeah, because that always seems to be the roadblock, isn't it? Is that we get these successful ideas and we have all this stuff, but then there's got to be the money behind it to support it and get it going through.
You
And there's
got to
also
find money and you got to find a lot of people have plans, but they don't know how to implement their plans. And
yeah,
so that's what you see at the Capitol. You've got a bunch of people who don't know what the hell they're doing. And, I always get tickled how somebody who's never worked in corrections or somebody who's never worked in law enforcement are going to write all these laws and they got a clue how it even affects it. And then,
right.
you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like we made cigarettes contraband and you got people. I just get tickled. We've basically made marijuana legal. You can be out here on the street with weed, and they're practically doing nothing. But you're in prison and get caught with a pack of cigarettes or some loose tobacco, and you're going to end up losing good time.
Yeah,
So technically, we are putting people in Oklahoma for longer periods of time in prison. So we're incarcerating people for smoking a cigarette. You know what I mean? Grown adults smoking a cigarette. And again, it's costing the state thousands and thousands. And they're not smart enough to say, let's put cigarettes back on. Let's sell them at the commissary. Let's make money off of them. Let's put a designated area you have to smoke in. And again, and if you don't do that, we'll write you up for not following the rules. And again, if you want to stay for not following the rules, that's your business. But we're not going to lock people up for smoking a cigarette,
yeah,
But that's what's going on here in Oklahoma is stupid gone to seed.
yeah. I was talking with some other people, and we were going down that road of the tough on crime. At some point in time, people have to release, so you can create the space for the new people you're bringing in.
What my rule of thumb is: do you want the guy living next to you? That, that
Mhm.
that's the rule of thumb. It's we got a lot of people locked up that we could put, and in fact, this plan that I have, we don't have treatment centers here in Oklahoma. So one of the things I would do is institute treatment centers that for each DA district. So every DA district, we would put a regional jail and we would put a treatment center. So that would be 3 counties. Every 3 counties would have their own regional jail and they would have a treatment center. And guess what? A lot of the people who are going to prison, we could stop that by putting
Mm.
those people in those jails. We could use those people. So if we create a regional jail, we would still have jails in each community. You would use those jails for the people who are going to court that week, so you would hold all the people going to court, and then when you finish that week, you'd take them to the regional jail, turn out who you need to, take whoever you need to at the regional jail, pick up for the next week, and you'd make a trip a week. And if you had a problem child, you could run down there and drop them off or pick somebody up. But at the end of the day, you would still have a jail. I would take those people who are going to be in for a year or whatever they get, and those that would be reasonable we would put to mowing cemeteries. We would have all the counties would have a crew, the city would have a crew, and we could house like in Atoka where I'm at, they have about a probably 70-man jail. You're gonna have, probably 20 people going to court that week, possibly. And if you wanted to make a run, so in our 3 counties, it wouldn't be 30 miles. You could run them back and forth and drop them off, get them out of your jail, take them to the regional jail, keep probably 50 people there on crews so that you have 3 county crews. Each one of them could have 10 people. The city could have 5 or 6 people. You can have some other working right there in the courthouse, mowing the lawn, painting. You should have your cities and your counties. I'd have them out there on the road. Every corner would be cleared.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, they could use just saws and, I wouldn't give them anything they'd hurt themselves with. They can go right out there and again, not be inhumane. But the number one thing to change criminal behavior and substance abuse behavior is employment. And we need to teach people. Here's what's funny: if you talk to employers, if they can just get somebody sober who can breathe, show up to work, guess what? You got a pretty good employee. You know what I'm saying? You're off to a
Oh
really
yeah,
good start. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and that's
we need to train them on that.
that work ethic is something that most people, when they come into prison, but the majority of them are doing things on their own, making their own decisions, living, living that way. And then you do that with them and you teach them pride in your work performance and pride in your work ethic and that you're out there helping the community. That's gonna be a big thing. And I know one facility that I worked at, over time, we lost the ability to send work crews out, but the community relied upon it. The school did, the fairgrounds did. They count on them to come out and just keep things clean and keep things in a certain way, and when they lost that, they had no other way to go about it. So I see so many positives to implementing something like that because one, it benefits.
Right. You keep your lower level
Yeah.
doing these things. And Pete, like what you're saying, pride, we've lost that. But I will tell you this, when we had that program here, like you said, we used to have the same kind of thing that when I was in corrections, that's what I came into, that's what we were doing. And
Mhm.
you know what? It would amaze you when you were talking to these inmates. So my dad was a superintendent and got him hooked up with one of these inmate crews. I was like, hey, in the summertime, y'all ain't got kids in there and you're wanting to paint all your building. He's constantly building stuff. I said, you ought to get you one of these inmate crews. He ended up getting the inmate crew. And I'll never forget one of the guys that was on there. I think he had a lawyer on there and he had a guy that had worked for NASA. And he could not believe, he's like, you would not believe what these guys see. I got two guys that ought not to be in there. He said, man, these are smart people. And I
Yeah.
laughed. I said, Dad, a lot of your inmates are very smart. And in
Yeah.
fact, most of them are entrepreneurs. They just don't know if they quit selling dope and sell something, sell cars or something, they'd be really successful. But
They gotta
none
get
of
on the
them.
legal side of it. Yeah.
And what's funny, like with him, he really bragged on. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They would build something, and then they would have he cooked some hamburgers for them, or you know what I'm saying? Them guys, I talked to them. They loved working down there. He loved having them. It really opened his eyes to, he had a different view of inmates, and it just opened his eyes. And he talked to them about family issues, and just got to
Mhm.
see them as real people. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I just think it was super. And if you had them out there, doing the cemeteries and the community and county commissioners would just brag on them a little bit, it would go a long, long ways to putting that pride back into something you do. But if you just train them just to get up and go to work and actually do work, you've accomplished a little bit right there if you do that.
A lot of times we just have to be able to get them to be disciplined in it,
Well,
and
Pete,
that's what that
in that
does.
prison setting, I mean, me and you get it, and I think most people
Mhm.
can hear us say it, but they really don't get it. But if you can't, if you got all your commodes clogged up on a unit, and them guys can't go to the bathroom, guess what? That turns into a huge, huge problem. Not just a problem of people can't go to the bathroom, and now we're having to put them on another unit. It's not just that problem. You start having attitude problems. You start having, lots. It can lead to a lot of problems. And so when you got an inmate that will get up and do that, and I used to find that those guys would get, boy, everybody on that unit would really like them, and they would really like being the center. You know what I'm saying? Some of
Yeah.
them
Oh
guys
yeah.
that put importance to them, and so again, that's what we need to bring back. We need to institute that here in Oklahoma. They have lost control. We're down. Number one, they don't have enough people. The way they treat their employees has created I was listening today to some news, and they were talking about a lot of military people at one time that their families had been military. That
Yeah.
under Biden, they were telling their sons and daughters, "Hey, don't go into the military. You don't want to go into the military." People who love the military were saying, "Hey, don't go into." And that's what we're seeing here in Oklahoma. We've had people, generational families that have worked prisons, that know prisons, You have these prisons in these small communities out there. And again, what you see is you'll have some of the same families. You'll have two brothers or,
Yeah.
aunts and uncles and all of that. It's a lot of family. And right now, hey, I know several families saying, do not go to work there. Don't come here. Well, that gets out in the community. And next thing you know, you can't get employees. You can't get good employees, and that's what's happened to the Department of Corrections. They can't get anybody to go to work, and they can't hear that. Leadership, and they've got a bunch of leadership that's never done it. So they went in there, hired the guy that they brought in for the last three
Oh,
years, had zero experience, none experience. He got rid of anybody that stood up to him or told him he was wrong. And they brought in people that had less experience than he did. So now they're at top, their whole top tier know absolutely nothing, and they're too ignorant to listen to people who do know something.
yeah. It turns into the blind leading the blind, is what it
Oh,
turns into.
and they all fall in the ditch, and they continually fall in the ditch here in Oklahoma.
But you know who takes advantage of that? You and I both know that inmate population takes advantage of that lack of experience or lack of know-how.
Hey, we've got inmates running. I for about 3 years said, man, they're going to have a riot. They're going to have a riot. It's just a matter of time. They can't help but have a riot. And then I backed up and said, I'm gonna come up with they're like Democrats. They come up with terms. I laughed. They had one incident uh, there in Lawton prison where they had about 30 injured, two dead, and they called it. I come out and said, well, they had a little mini riot down there. They come out and said JJ has no institutional knowledge. Now these people never worked in the institution, period, and I got no institutional knowledge, and that was not a riot. That was a group disturbance. And I
Oh,
was, well, I said, I never heard, I guess I don't have institutional knowledge. I've never heard of a group disturbance. I said, that's a new one on me. And they changed from escape to walkaways. So,
oh,
so
okay.
they renamed these things. And then you're over there looking, going, boy, they've successfully dropped the escape number down. Man, they've dropped that way
Oh.
down. Oh, but what's this number over here? Oh, this new deal they got a hell of a bunch of them going on over here.
And see, and that's what's sad is because then the media gets involved with dummying down what really is going on. So your staff are back at the facility facing the heat of the real fire and going through everything that they're going through. But yet, when they go out to the public, they have no support because has these softer terms on what was going
Oh,
on. And it,
absolutely. And the administration sitting up there going, oh, it's a lie. JJ's just full of it. He just hates us and he doesn't know what he's talking about. That was not a riot. He has no knowledge, and that's a group disturbance. And I'm going, well, just how do you classify? What's the difference between? Well, guess what? They cannot tell you that. And so I come up with the term perpetual right. That's what I come up. I said, well, here's the deal. And in all honesty, what I'm saying is true, is that
Mhm.
what has happened at all these prisons, the inmates are running the prison. And when you look at a riot, what's the definition of a riot? That's when you've lost control of your prison. Okay. So when the inmates are running the show, when you show up and you got one of your top brass shows up at a prison to go talk to an inmate, and the inmates meet them at the pod and say, we're not going to allow you to go talk to this inmate. And then finally they say, we will escort you down there to talk to the inmate. That you've lost control. When one of your
Yeah.
officers, two of your officers are beaten and are down on that unit and they tell you you can't come down there and get your officer, I would classify that. That's where I would say you're in riot stage right there. You're in a riot. And that's going on every day. We're not going to allow you to paint. We're not going to allow you to put numbers on here. When you get to that point, you've lost control, and that's what's going on in most of these prisons, is my understanding.
Yeah, and that's an area where you have to have expertise. And I'll tell you, I was fortunate. I worked with the federal prisons for 24-ish, 5 years, something like that. And I got into the private industry, but I was around people who were in their agencies, 10-time warden, 14-time warden. I mean, these people, they forgot more about corrections than most people will ever know collectively.
Sure.
But they walked around, they taught you how to manage the facility and they taught you those types of things. And I think when we have these type of conversations, what people don't get about us is we know what respect is. We know that I'm going to show respect, but I'm going to get respect back. And when you start to degrade, when that respect coming back to you begins to get degraded, you have to go through a process in order to get that respect reestablished. And it's not always demonstrative. It's not demonstrative. It's one of these situations where you just have to go and remind everybody how this really exists. We're the staff. You're the inmate. You do the things you're supposed to. We're going to make sure things go well for you. We're going to make sure you get your all your meals and everything you're supposed to get, and the place runs smooth. You want to change that perspective. You want to change that opinion. Well, then we have a way we have to deal with it. I found that to be the most effective way for me to manage situations when I
Well,
felt that
but
we were
Pete,
losing that control.
Pete, what you're talking about, you've let a guy walk into the room, okay?
Yeah.
You can let a guy walk in the room, and you do not have to tell me, hey, if that guy tells you something, do something, you better do it, or you're going to end up, things are going to get ugly. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, you just tell the way it's how you voice command. It's the way you carry yourself. You cannot tell people who've not been in that what we're saying.
Mhm.
But if you've been in that, you know what we're saying, and them inmates know. Them inmates know who can walk in that room and go, okay, this is what we're going to do now. Now, y'all can have it great or you can have it ugly. Which one? Which way y'all want to go? I've got a story that I tell. They dropped an old boy, so we had the Aryan Brotherhood on our
Mhm.
unit there, on our minimum institution right there. So you had the group of Aryan Brotherhoods, always on the weights, always pumped out. You know what I'm saying? So they
Yeah.
dropped this old boy off, and what had happened when this Aryan Brotherhood, when the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood that was on our yard got put in prison, this old boy had molested his daughter, and they end up sending this boy to prison and mistakenly put them two on the same yard. And when this molester come around the corner, he run right into the Aryan Brotherhood leader who didn't know he was on there, and they was both about shocked. Anyways, the molester, he ran back to the lieutenant's office, white as a ghost. You couldn't make anybody. I mean, this boy was
I'll
scared
bet.
to death, and
Yeah.
so we put him in protective custody, and so I was over the protective custody there. So one of these Aryan Brotherhood boys come in, and I laughed. He come in, he said, "Humphrey, everybody respects you, everybody likes you here." But he said, "You know what that boy did down there?" Said, "We're gonna come in here, and if you get in the way, we're gonna have to hurt you because now he's coming out of this cell." I said, I hear you. I hear you. I said, yeah. I said, y'all just do whatever you got to do. And anyways, he left. Boy, I get on phone, and I'm a young officer, and I'm not the biggest, but I'm pretty good shape. And I've been in a few scraps and stuff. So I'm like, I called Lieutenant. I said, "Hey, give me some people over here. We're fixing to have a throwdown. I mean, it's hell's fixing to break loose over here.
Yeah.
Get me some
Yeah.
people. Somebody going to tote home an ass whipping. And he goes, "Hey, listen." He said, "You get that guy out of that cell right now. Don't worry about packing his stuff. You get him out of that cell." He said, "We're going to ring the bell for count. We're going to have a special count. We're going to ring that bell
Yeah.
for count." And everybody
Yeah.
had to go to their unit and go get
Yep.
on their bed on that count. He said, "I'm going to send two guys out in that yard. You're going to have that guy ready. Both of y'all, all three of y'all take that guy across that yard quick." He said, "I'll have a car waiting around there for him, and we'll get him out of here." Hey, I'm gonna tell you from the time I called, 5 minutes maybe, and everybody's bells rung. So now we're across that yard. We put him in the car. They drive him up about 5 or 6 miles. They tell me to get his property put in a box, and we take that property up there and meet him. Bam, he's on the road. They take him to another prison. Now,
Yeah.
dummy me would have had a damn you know, a full scale war out there, and here's this
Yeah.
lieutenant who just, you know what I'm saying, never missed a beat. Humphrey, just shut up, just calm down, simmer down, Humphrey, simmer down, go get the guy out. Here's what you're going to do. I've never forgot that, and not only for that situation, but from then on in my life, you start going, okay, it may be another way to,
Mhm.
think before we do something. You know what I mean? That's what leadership and that's what mentoring, and that's we've lost that as well. We've lost that as well. I so much respect some of those guys who taught that kind of stuff to me,
Yeah.
and we don't have that going on.
No, and that's that level of management because he knew that by that inmate walking in and giving you somewhat of a warning, hey, this is what's going to happen if you don't. They're also looking for a way out too. And when he
Sure.
rang that bell, that was their way out. That was
Yeah,
their
I
way
mean,
out, and they took it. Now, if they hadn't taken it, it'd have been a different situation. But they did
yeah, if
take
they
it.
really would have wanted to do it, they'd have walked in there and not said, they'd whoop my ass and took, you know, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody was looking for the proper to get him off that yard is what the deal
Yeah.
was. And they were right. And I don't have any problem. I understand that guy. But here's the problem. I help a lot of our correctional people. So I'm in a group called OCP, Oklahoma Correctional Professionals. So when people get fired or
Mhm.
terminated or disciplined, we have a legal group. If they're part membership, we try to defend them. And so I get to talk to them. I go to some of these prisons, but when I'm talking to these officers, especially lieutenants, captains, that kind of thing,
Mhm.
I'll always ask them, "Hey, how many years you got in?" And, I am just shocked, man. We got lieutenants at 3, 4 years, captains at 4, maybe 5, wardens at 4, deputy wardens at 4. And you're just going, no wonder we're in the shape that we're in because when I was in there, unless you were the
Yeah.
golden blessed child, you're going to be 8 years, 9 years to make lieutenant. You're going to be 12, 15 to be captain, or you know what I'm saying. You're
Yeah.
going to have some time in to make captain or chief or something like that. And now you got people, and then when you're talking to those people, they didn't have the same leadership. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
so they've got 4 years, but they ain't got 4 years under a lieutenant like I had. They got 4 years under somebody that doesn't know how to run anything.
And there's that thing, if I spend 4 years doing the same thing each year, I only have 1 year 4 times. And
Right.
and that's what I really enjoyed about moving around to different facilities with different security levels. I mean, I went to super maxes, to lows, to mediums, to penitentiaries. I bounced all around like that. Then I got lucky in the privates because I went to a Georgia contract, Louisiana, so on, so on, so on. I experienced what other states do for a living, and it's so interesting to see how you can skin a cat a different way, and it actually does work. But if you were to get this path that you want to go on, and you get lieutenant governor, and you started, and you have the opportunity to implement your plans, that's going to be a pretty big culture shift that you're going to have to put in place.
Oh, it'd be and that it needs it because here's the deal:
It
we're at
does.
a place where to try to reform it, I don't, it'd be very difficult. I think you'd be better just to scratch it. And again, you're not scratching it; you're just reorganizing it to the point that it's nothing. I don't care what you did yesterday. Yesterday's gone. We're today. We got a whole new system. Just
Yeah.
forget what this is what we're going to do. And again, you would have to get out the old management. You got to get out and again, you want people who are professional. This is what the current management and Department of Corrections here in Oklahoma, they do not see their employees as their most valuable asset. If I was over that, my employee, that's what makes the whole place. That's what changes these inmates. If we're going to change inmates, they have to be who you're around. Granny always said, if you run with the dogs, you get the fleas. Well, guess what? Granny was right. Granny's true. But guess what? If you run with those people who are really good, guess what? Those characteristics also. So we hear that and we always listen to that in the negative, but what we don't hear is guess what? That same philosophy works in the positive. And what you want to do to train your people in such a positive manner. We're professional. We don't hate you. We have a job. We're going to expect you to do yours. We're going to try to help you become a better person. If you don't want to be a better person, we're going to help you right on in that deal. And we're going to treat you humanely, and
You could really be able to change that culture, but it's going to take a team of people. My opinion from the outside, but you probably have people on the internal too that you have to get
well,
involved.
what
But
you want to find is that person who hasn't been allowed to do, who have the
yeah,
knowledge and who has the passion, but hasn't been allowed to. And when you turn that person loose, guess what? Just get the heck out of their way. Just
Yeah.
get out of their way. And what do you need from me? What do you need for me to facilitate for you to do this? And you've got to find the money. You got to have a plan,
Yeah.
how to find the money. You got to have a plan how to implement that. But here's the thing: we are, we've got mental health over here, trying to. In Oklahoma, they closed all their mental health units, so we have nowhere to go with them. So guess what?
Wow.
All of that's ending up in the Department of Corrections. We're
Yeah.
not set up to manage that. So again, it's been a nightmare. So why don't we combine? So why don't we have some communication between them? Why don't we use some of the money that mental health is spending? First of all, you got to find where they're lost $90 million. Where are you spending your money? Because it sure ain't on the bed over here that we're giving you money. So
Right.
where's the money going? That's the first corruption issue you have to stop. Then if you do the regional jails, you put a pod on there for mental health. That way they can be assessed. Then you create some mental health beds to where now, guess what? When they come in that prison or they come in that regional facility, we're starting assessments. You shouldn't have to have an assessment reception, shouldn't. Those receptions start right there because we're starting it immediately. Who is this? Because our goal is to keep you from going to prison. And we're doing that at the regional by identifying, can you read? Have you ever had a job? What do we need to do?
Mhm.
Are you mental health? And guess what? We start addressing those issues right there. And if you're mental health and you need inpatient mental health, then let's create some places and we can do that. We have facilities that we could, here in Oklahoma that aren't being used. We could get them for free, put very little money into them, and we could have thousands of beds for mental health, working with right there at that regional jail to identify what that would also do. It would stop that repeat criminal behavior
Mhm.
because now we can lock people up that's had a couple of repeats. We can put them a year in county without having to go to prison. Again, we use them, putting them back in them other jails and using those that we can on the community. We keep those that we can't. Boom. And now guess what? All of that. And you know what? When you do that, what's your homeless problem start getting taken care of too. So we'll take care of the homeless problem. We'll take care of the repeat crime. We will create a community supervision that will have actually places to go. We will create a treatment center that operates. You will go to work and you will pay for your own treatment. State don't have to pay for that. You will pay for it while you're working. We'll collect enough money so when you get out, you will have some money. We'll also pay your fines while you're there so you're not delinquent on fines. And then we'll pay for your housing while we're there. And again, that's going to save the state a
Yeah.
lot of money, prison wise, and everything else. So if we even have to kick in a little money for those places, not a problem. And we find that by finding the waste. I'll give you an example of waste. I went in and asked the Department of Corrections, how many employees do you have? Now, here's what's funny. I highly suspected they would lie to me. So before they started, I went and called every facility and said how many people you had, how many did you have 3 years ago, how many did you have then. And so I did a 3-year study on every prison, called their HR before they ever knew what I was doing. Then I go ask them how many people you got, and it took me 3 months to get an answer. Now that's sad. And
That
then when I
is.
got the answer, they were 600 something off when I got the answer. And so we had this big fight. But in the story, if I paid you for 100 employees and you only have 50, where's the other 50%?
Where's
I
that
was
money
able
at?
to a $43 million raise for the Department of Corrections and never
Is that
knew.
how they got that? I was reading about that.
Yeah, never appropriation, never a new tax right there in their budget. But here's what's funny. I actually found 320,000 really. So I got 43 million of it. What happened to the other 270 something $1,000? Again, where's that money? My people at the Capitol, JJ, just be glad you got your 43 million. Shut up. Uh, that's the way our government operates. And if we was to take $270 million, how many regional jails could we start building, with that money and create what I'm talking about? And if we would find, that's just me low hanging fruit. If you give me an opportunity, I can find all kinds of millions and millions of dollars that we are wasting. And when you go over to whether it's mental health, Department of Corrections, one's doing drug court. Well, guess what? Drug court's just probation. Why do we have probation, community sentencing, and drug court who all do the exact same thing? Why do we need three administrations? Why are we pouring millions into that? Let's take all of that money. Let's put it back in the community like I'm talking about. Let's
Mhm.
build jails so that we have alternatives when these guys screw up, that we can get them off the street and stop crime. The bottom line, are you stopping crime? And that's the issue. And again, we want to change behavior, but we also would free up enough beds that now we can have prisons to where if we need to send somebody to prison, guess what? Those parole officers, if they need to take somebody back to prison, now we have the beds. Now there's no holdup. Now we have a functioning, working system. And again, if you looked at the DAs hijacking the probation, the reason they're making money off of it. I can pay for the entire community corrections just by taking it back from the DAs. I can pay the community. And then if I do parole right, I can pay for the parole just by how we're getting inmates out. The amount we save by putting them on the street, I can pay for it by that. Then if we take all the drug court money and all this probation money and all of that and stick it in there, another 120 million, guess what? We can have an awesome system. We hire more people and we do a much, much better job. And guess what? We get a big bang for our buck and we
Yeah.
impact homelessness, we impact mental health, we impact drug abuse, we
Yeah.
impact the prison population. Guess what? All good. And it's not brain surgery.
And you talk to these guys after they finally get sober and they finally got on a clean path and they're starting to make better decisions. They like that life a lot better than the life that they had before they got that way. And that's the answers to all that stuff. That really does. Do you think that you get lieutenant governor, you start getting it into implementation, you're going to have any pushback?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're going to
Yeah.
have pushback because guess what? All of these contracts that are being done. So people like, oh, JJ, what's corrupt? Well, let me tell you what's corrupt. They got a $70 million food contract. Just go look at how that one was done and watch when they do their canteen contract that a company comes in and takes everybody to Biloxi and wines and dines. Someone comes back and breaks a contract and gives them $5 million that they shouldn't even never got. And you go over and tell them, hey, I'm going to give y'all the easiest crime there is to ever, solve, because all you got to do is go where this company sued this company and it's all been, deposed and it's all in transcript. You ain't even got to do it. It's already done right here. I'm going to show you a crime but committed. Guess what? No, we're not interested. They're stealing millions. It's corrupt. It's crud. And yes, they're gonna, our own government people are involved in it. Our agencies are involved in it. They all got padded. You know what I'm saying? Your director's making 275. You think he ain't gonna squeal if I bust him up and say, well, now you ain't over all this. We're gonna drop your salary too. Which would be rightfully so. And yeah, they're all gonna squeal. We're gonna every agency in the state, and I suspect every state's like this. But when I started, I think we had about 250 in administration. Now they're like 1,000 something, maybe 1,800. I'd have to go look. But again, when I was in college on business training, one of the things they showed you is what they call an upside down pyramid. Upside down
Mhm.
pyramid. And what that is, if you remember back early 90s, I think that you had all of these big corporations that were going under because what they had done is they had loaded up on administrators and their actual workforce was less than administrators more, and they couldn't get
Yeah.
anything done because information wouldn't travel because these mid managements wanted to go, everything's great, y'all's great, because they wanted to protect their job. Well, you have that in government right now, and it's called a deep state. A lot of people call it deep state. I call it upside down pyramid.
Yeah.
And what you got to do is you got to flip that pyramid. You need more people on the job, boots on the ground, That's where the work is. That's where you need less management. It will work much better when you get that scale and when you get that system.
I hope you get a chance to put it in place.
Well,
I
it's
really
a,
do.
I'm not a popular person at the Capitol. I can tell you that.
No?
Yeah, in fact, I had one of the top leadership call me in right before he left. He says, Humphrey, everybody up here hates your guts. And I said, well, boss, I said, in a den of thieves, I don't know that's a bad deal. I think it's all right. I laughed. But that's
Yeah.
just the way I feel. But if you got a plan, they don't want to hear your plan, and they put people in. The guy that's for Department of Corrections right now, I helped get him in there, and he doesn't have tremendous experience, but I thought he would be smart enough to put people around him who do, and he hasn't, and it's a disaster. DHS, same thing. Mental health, same thing. If you look at almost every agency now, Highway Patrol doing pretty good, OBN doing pretty good, but all in all, we got lots of problems that we could straighten out pretty quick if we would get a governor who would put people in place that would actually do the job.
That's gonna be the key critical thing to that is to get the right people in place because they're gonna have the fortitude to make this change, and this change isn't easy. I mean, I love corrections people because they act like they don't like change, but when you talk to them, we're changing all the time. We changing corrections all the time. But this is gonna be a big major shift, and it's gonna be a tough one to pull off, and with the right team, you can do it. With the right team, the right ideas, and the buy-in, you can get it done.
One person, they always say, well, one person can't do, no, one person, if you, I say that passion is contagious.
Yeah.
And if you've ever worked around places, like when I worked, man, when I first started, the people, like I say, that lieutenant that I'm talking about, when I come over to probation, man, just the training and just the stuff that we were doing and just having people passionate. Hey, my team supervisor, I named my youngest son after. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Uh, I would follow him off a building. I used to say, hey, you can't beat me across the street, but I'll follow you off a building. You know what I'm saying? If I'm working around you and you're that guy, guess what? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I got your back. And if you're the guy who'll get right in, you're not that supervisor who tells me you go do something that's impossible, that you know is impossible to do.
Mhm.
And then you're going to ride my butt because you give me 5 jobs. I'm taking the place of 5 people. And now you're going to say the minute something goes wrong, that I'm the sorry, no good, ain't doing your job. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we
Yeah.
have right now. That's the situation we have. Instead of that officer coming in. So if you're my boss and you come in and go, hey, y'all told him to do 5 jobs, a man can't do anything. I, don't blame it on him, blame it on me. We're not going to take it. If you're that boss, guess what? You tell me to do something, yeah, boss, not a problem. But if you're that boss going to come down there and try to belittle me, try to run me down, run me off, guess what? You're going to and that's what they've got right now. They've got people who are tired.
And I bet there's a lot of employees in that system that are just waiting for that culture shift to take place so that they can be the stars that they know they can be. I've been at places where you had that demonic type, authoritarian type leader who just kept everybody suppressed down so they could feel better about themselves. But they always liked the wrong people, the people who were the ones that were really causing a lot of chaos and havoc. Well, they liked the hell out of them. But once they left, and you got that different leader in. Everybody flew like eagles. Everybody
Oh,
did.
exactly. And again, you're hitting it dead on. The people they bring in, you don't have to be very smart to go watch one person, and he goes to this prison, and it's just horrific. And then he goes over here to this prison, and it's horrific. And you go over
Yeah.
here to this prison, and it's the same thing. It's chaos, it's craziness, it's out of control. And guess what? That's the guy who gets continually promoted,
Yeah.
continually promoted in that kind of environment. And when you have that, guess what? He's going to bring chaos wherever he's at. And again, if that's what you're promoting and you're promoting, that's the people, not just him. Everybody you're promoting is like that. Guess what? That's what your entire your systemic. That's a good word to say. And again, to get that out of there, you're pretty much going to have to root. And for me, I'd walk in there and go, I ain't firing anybody, but we're reassigning lots of people. And you guy that's the second highest guy, you're gonna go walk a beat. You're gonna go down right there on that deal. And what do you want to bet?
Mhm.
Most of them will quit.
And you'll have those all-stars that are just waiting to come out, lined up and ready to go. They're gonna have to make sure they trust it first.
And that's the last person that other group would promote
Mhm.
is somebody that will actually tell you. You know, bosses, most of your agency directors do not want to hear the truth. They want to be bragged on. They want to be built up. They want their ego stroked. They don't want to hear, "Hey, we're too short-handed. People are going to get killed." They don't want to hear that. And so, me, if I was in that, I would be right the opposite. What? Let's identify the problem. You can't not and again, if the whole place is on fire and they're telling you, oh, everything's good, you don't have to be very smart to see we got major problems. I mean, if you
Yeah.
go over and go to the medical examiner, just call the medical examiner and say, hey, how many bodies have y'all gotten from the Department of Corrections? That's all you got to do. If you get that number, you go, damn it, we got a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
you ain't got to be real smart. And these people, the governor, the speaker, the pro tem. Hey, I hope y'all listen to this. You ain't got to be a real smart individual. Make one phone call, get one number, and then go back and pull the national average of what's realistic, and then realize you're like 13-20% above national average on people getting, maybe even greater than that. You know what I mean? Used to you get reports from them on incidents. Now, no reports. Used to, hey, they've stopped me from getting any kind of records. I had to sue them to get open records, and I'm still having to sue them just to get records that they said. And what's funny is we have agreement with House leadership that you no longer can have records. And if you come over and look at anything, you will have to sign a non-disclosure saying you can't talk about it with anybody. They're open records. I'm a representative. I don't even need open records. You got to give your records to me. Nope. And then my house is
Really?
making an agreement with them to make me not get it because they don't want, you know, they don't want it exposed. That's where we are here in Oklahoma.
You got a big road to go down.
Big road.
Yeah, you do. Wow. Well, I hope the best of luck to you getting there.
I think I got a shot. Again, I mean, I'm kind of the grassroots. I'm the if you're tired. In fact, my campaign speech is simply that. I'm not photogenic. I'm not the pretty one. I'm not the politician. But if you're looking for somebody who's actually going to go in, change government, rattle the cage, actually make a difference, I'm the only choice, and that's where I'm give we'll see what the state thinks. And if they don't want that, then I'll go home and my wife has got lots for me to do, but she don't pay what you know what I'm saying?
I hear you. They
Ter-
always have a to-do list.
Terrible pay though, terrible pay. And I'm not sure the treatment is good. We might, you know what I'm saying? We might
Yeah.
need a little management training there. You know what I'm saying? So
I think she's got enough training. I think you just don't like the way she handles it.
yeah. Yeah. We have turned in rapes to the attorney general and they have completely ignored them. We've turned in whistleblowers. They've ignored that. And we've won these cases. We had a humane issue where we're locking people in 2x2 cells. Those are old showers and leaving them in there 9 days, limited food, limited water,
My God.
no bathrooms. And their own employees turned all that in and they lied about it, created 100. How do you create 101-page report to say nothing happened? That's a oxymoron. And then the last thing they said, nothing happened, but it won't happen again. You know, I'm like, wow. And so we've got lawsuits on that. We've got murder cover-ups that we're working on. So we've got a lot of problems here in Oklahoma in our Department of Corrections. I actually filed a bill not too long ago, call it Department of Corruption. I want to change the name. They didn't have a sense of humor about that. So
I imagine they didn't. Hey, I was looking though, and some of your facilities are actually accredited.
it's my understanding they got out of ACA, but then he flew all over the place. This last director, he didn't stay home much. He's all the time gone, flying around, and so he was ACA uh, going, but I didn't think that. My understanding, they were not in there, and so how that happens that they cannot be members, but they get ACA approved is a head scratcher. So here's the deal that I keep telling the governor. There are groups. A friend of ours, Percy, has a business, an organization that you could contract with him. He would be an independent, completely independent. Come in, not only look at your staffing levels, not only look at your facility. He would give you a rundown. And not only tell you what's wrong, but give you ideas how to fix the issue. And from top to bottom, you would get those identifications, and you would get solutions. So if I was to be lieutenant governor, that's what I'd encourage the governor to do. If they hired me to be the director of the Department of Correction, the first thing I would do is call and say, "Hey, come up here, get me a complete, comprehensive." And then we would identify. You can't fix everything at once, like we were talking about a while ago.
Yeah.
But you identify what's the first 5 things that we're going to take care of in this, and then we go, okay, how we develop a plan,
Mhm.
and then we talk about how you implement the plan, and then we go take it to the field and do it. And so that would be some of the first thing that I would do. But again, that's common sense, and they
Yeah.
don't seem to want to. You know what I'm saying? Why would
Yeah.
you not do what we're talking about?
Yeah, you're gonna need to bring in somebody from the outside that has no they have no any have nothing to
No
do with it,
political,
and they
no
give you
political
just a
ties. Yes.
honest answer. "This is what you got. Here's what we recommend you do," and then start using that as your blueprint to get things the
Well,
way
and
they need to
people
be.
who
Well, hey, Representative Humphrey, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on Corrections Unfiltered. I never thought in my wildest imagination I'd have a state representative from the great state of Oklahoma sitting here with me. I do appreciate you doing that, sir.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Hey, I look forward to getting to talk to you some more, and hopefully we'll get to win lieutenant governor, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll have you out and look at our prisons and get some advice.
Hey, that'd be great. In Oklahoma, you got the right man sitting right here on this other side of this camera. Get all your votes out, get everybody rounded up, because if anybody's going to make the change and knows how to make the change, it's Representative Humphrey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.